So what a complex fraction is, as you can see here on number 1 and number 2 already, it's just a fraction on top of a fraction, okay? So how are we going to simplify these? I'm going to put 2 steps. Now these 2 steps are kind of complicated, but it is just 2 steps. So step 1 is if there's any adding or subtracting in the numerator or denominator. You're going to want to do that first, okay? Now, step 1 will not always apply. I'll tell you guys that on number 1 and number 2, we're not going to be doing step 1 because you can see there's no addition in the numerator or denominator of either one of these, right? If we scroll down, though, a little bit, let me show you an example. Okay, so when we get down to like numbers 7 and 8, you can see there's adding and subtracting in the numerator and denominator. We're going to want to do that first, okay? Okay, but it looks like for page 1, we're going to be skipping that step, okay? So then step 2 is multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. Multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator, all right? Okay, and then for step 2, I like to use this little symbol right here. I call it a pigtail. So this is like, I'm going to move this up here and I'm going to flip it around upside down. That's me showing the reciprocal there. That's not like technically a math term there. That's like Mr. Barry's like, I don't know, little hint or little symbol there. I call it like the pigtail multiplication. Okay. All right, so number 1 here then, like I said, there's no addition or subtraction in number 1, so I can go ahead and skip the first step. So I'm going to go on to the second step, which is multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. So like I said, I like to show this by going like that. So I'm going to move this up here, and it turns into multiplication, but I have to flip it upside down. So that's what I mean, the reciprocal. You flip that bottom fraction, so it's actually going to be multiplied by 3 over 5, okay? It makes sense because this big fraction in the middle is like division. It's like saying 25 divided by 4 divided by 5 over 3. So we learned that dividing fractions just means multiply by the reciprocal. So that's just what I'm going to do, okay? Okay, now we're allowed to cross cancel. So we can divide by the same number on top and bottom on any of these. So I can divide this and this by 5. So that's going to turn into 1. That's going to turn into 5. Remember that for multiplying fractions, it's actually easier than adding or subtracting, right? Because we do not need a common denominator. I just do top times top goes up top. Bottom times bottom goes on bottom. So this is going to be 15 up top and then 4 on bottom. 5 times 3 up top and then 4 times 1 on bottom. And that's it. We're done. 15 over 4. Okay? So honestly, this really isn't any different than the division that we did earlier, right? So if I said 25 divided by, or if I said 25 over 4 divided by 5 over 3, you would have done the same thing, okay? It gets a little trickier on the next page when we have to do that addition or subtraction in the numerator or denominator, but yeah, not that bad. Okay, so let's head over to number 2. Same idea here. Let's go ahead and multiply by the reciprocal. So now it's turning into multiplication of 4 over 1. I don't see anything to cross cancel there. The 4 is can't divide anything with 3. So I just do top times top of top, bottom times bottom on bottom. We do not need a common denominator for multiplying. We only need common denominator for adding or subtracting fractions. So that's it, 8 over 3. All right, next up, number 3. Same idea here, no adding or subtracting. So I'm going to go ahead and just multiply by the reciprocal. So times m over 4. Do make sure that you actually do flip that upside down. I see a lot of people do my little loop-de-loop, but then forget to flip the fraction upside down. That's really why I do that loop-de-loop. It reminds me to go ahead and turn that fraction upside down. All right, looks like this one does have some cross-canceling available. So I can divide 16 and 4 by 4. So 16 divided by 4 is 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. I can also divide the m and m squared. I can divide those both by m. So this one's going to turn into 1, and this one will just turn into m. The other way you can think about that is like our battle, right? So we have m to the first power on top, m to the second power on bottom. That means the bottom wins the battle by 1m. So there's m to the first power on bottom. Nothing else to cross cancel. We're multiplying, so I do not need a common denominator. We just do top times top up top, 4 times 1. And then bottom times bottom on bottom, m times 1 is m. All right, let's have you guys practice one of these. Number 4 should be really quick here. So I'm going to pause for 30 seconds. You guys can go ahead and try number 4 out. Then we'll go over it together. So let's have you try out number 4. Ready, go. Okay, we can go over it now. So I'll multiply by the reciprocal here, so that's times m over 2. Nothing to cross cancel here. I cannot cancel those m's out because it's not top to bottom, right? So nothing to cross cancel here, so just top times top up top, that's going to be m squared. Bottom times bottom on bottom, that's going to be over 8. Cool. So m squared over 8, that's it. Okay, next up, these ones. Okay, so I'm going to say we're still skipping step 1 on this one. We're not going to be adding or subtracting. I know there is adding or subtracting here, but it's not like 2 separate fractions, okay? It's adding or subtracting within a fraction. That's not what we're talking about with step 1. Step 1, where we're adding or subtracting, is when, like on number 7 and 8 here, we have adding or subtracting of 2 different fractions in the numerator. Okay, so this one, it's really just the same. I'm just going to go right ahead and multiply by the reciprocal. Is there anything we can cross cancel? Yes, we can definitely cross cancel these 4s. Can we cross cancel the a's? The answer here is no, because this a has a 1 adding to it and this a has a 3 subtracting from it. We're not allowed to cancel those out. We got to think of these as like parentheses. So only if there is another parentheses on bottom that looks just like that could we cancel them out. So since these are both 1s here, we'll just do top times top up top, bottom times bottom on bottom, and that's it, we're done. Okay, so same idea for number 6. We'll just go ahead. Sec. What did you get for 4? Oh, for number 4, I got m squared over 8. Does that sound good? Cool. All right, so number 6, kind of similar to number 5. We're just going to go ahead and, oops, didn't mean to do that. Just going to go ahead and multiply by the reciprocal here. So times m minus 2 over 5. Nothing to cross cancel here. Nothing's going to cancel out with those 5s on bottom. So we're just going to go top times top up top. Bottom times bottom on bottom. So I think that that is a good way to write your final answer. I will tell you that the answer key to this notes page actually has it written like this. So I'd say both of those are okay. What did they do? They went ahead and distributed the 4. Is it okay to distribute the 4? Yes. Is it okay if you leave the 4 out front and then put m minus 2 in parentheses? Yes, okay? So I think that's fine either way. Sometimes they'll distribute that in there. Sometimes they won't. I'd say it's okay either way. Okay, let's go to the next page. It is going to get a little harder on this next page because we're going to have to do that step 1. So stick with me here. We will get it done, okay? Okay, so now we have adding or subtracting in the numerator denominator. We have to do that addition and subtraction first and then multiply by the reciprocal, okay? So let's just look at this, just the numerator first, okay? So if I was doing this subtraction, we know now adding and subtracting, we have to think about common denominator, right? So I could make both of these denominators a 6. If I multiply this one by 3, I really don't need to multiply the other one by anything. So that's going to turn into 49 over 6 minus 9 over 6, which would be 40 over 6, which I could then reduce to, since they're both even, I can divide them by 2, so that would be 20 over 3. Okay, so now that's me doing step 1 on the numerator, but I also need to do it on the denominator, so I have to add these together. So this one I would have to multiply by 7. This one I would have to multiply by 3, so I can make both of these denominators 21. All right, 3 times 1 then is 3. This one I have to multiply by 7. 14 times 7, that feels like 98 to me. It is? Okay. So that is 101 over 21. Okay, so now we've kind of done step 1, okay? I'm going to rewrite it down here. We kind of don't have to, but I just feel like I want to here. So we have 20 over 3 over 101 over 21. So now it turns into one of those ones that we did on the first page, okay? I just multiply by the reciprocal. Cross cancel where available. So in this case, that's just, this one would turn into a 7. That would turn into a 1. Now we're multiplying, so we no longer need that common denominator, right? So I'm just going to do top times top up top, bottom times bottom on bottom, and that's it. I'm done. Let me double check my answer here, and I am good. It worked. All right, so let me pause for a second here. We'll move on to number 8. If you want to start thinking about how to do number 8, we will get right to it. I'm just going to give a second here to process. Okay, so number 8, same idea. We got to do the subtraction up top first. I got to get a common denominator. So common denominator here, I could do 80, but I could also do 40. I can turn these both into 40. So I'm going to do that. I'll keep the numbers a little smaller. So to change this to 40, I got to multiply it by 5. And this one's got to be by 4. Okay, so that's going to turn into 12 minus 15 is negative 3 over 40. All right, now on the bottom, I can just multiply this one by 4, and that's going to turn it into 36. So I get 20 over 36 plus 25 over 36 gives me 45 over 36. All right, so I'm done with step 1. I'm going to go down here and rewrite it. So now I can move on to step 2. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply by the reciprocal here. All right, so these ones I can divide by 4, so that's going to turn into 9. That'll turn into 10. These ones I can divide by 3, so that's going to turn into negative 1. And 45 divided by 3 is 15, right? All right, so top times top up top, bottom times bottom on bottom. Shoot, that doesn't feel like it's fully reduced. Nope, those are both divisible by 3, so I'm actually going to reduce this a little bit more. I should have been able to, oh, I see. You know what? Back here, I could have reduced that by 9 way back here. I should have done that. That 45 over 36. That reduces by 9. I could have done that earlier. That's okay. I'm going to do it later. So now this is going to turn into negative 3 over 50. That looks good. Got there eventually. Okay, what do we got here? 4 more? Yep. All right, let's do it. Okay, now we're going to throw some variables in here, but same process. Okay, I'm going to do the numerator first. So number 9, we got to get a common denominator up top. This one's got to be multiplied by 3. This one's got to be multiplied by 4. Okay, 4u squared minus 3u. Those are unlike terms, and so we cannot actually subtract them. We're just going to keep them listed separately there. 4u squared minus 3u. So that's what my step 1 is going to look like for this one. On the bottom here, I'm going to multiply this one by u squared. Multiply this one by 3. Okay, so this will be 4u squared plus 12 over 3u squared. Okay, so that's done with step 1. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite these. Uh-oh, I did that wrong. Hold up. Okay, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal here. All right, we're going to see if there's anything that we can cross cancel. The only thing I see is the 3 here and the 12 can both divide by 3. So that'll turn into a 1, that'll turn into a 4. I can't cancel out these 4u squareds because they have stuff adding and subtracting to it. So I'm just going to do top times top up top. So I'm going to say u squared times 4u squared minus 3u. Then on bottom, I'm going to say 4 times 4u squared plus 12. So once again, I'm good with that answer. They actually distributed that in there. So they said 4u to the 4th minus 3u to the 3rd over 16u squared plus 48. So they distributed in there. That's fine with me, or you could leave it out front. All right, we're going to move on to number 10 in a minute. If you want to get started on it, you may. I'm going to pause for a second so everyone can stay caught up. All right. So once again here, let's multiply this one by 4 to get a common denominator. So that's going to be 4x plus 4x over 16 plus 3 over 16. So that's going to be 4x plus 3 all over 16. This one will multiply by 3. All right, now this one actually is like terms. So I am allowed to do 16 minus 48. So that would be negative 32. So we're going to get 4x plus 3 over 16 over negative 32 over 3x. Multiply by the reciprocal. I actually don't see anything I can cross cancel there. The 3 with the 16, they can't divide by anything. I can't do the 4x because it's adding with 3. So I'm just going to do top times top up top. And then bottom times bottom on bottom. Wait a minute. 16 times 32. What is that? All right, so it'll be negative 512. Now, once again, they may distribute that 3x into the parentheses. That would be 12x squared plus 9x. So that's fine as well. You should probably have both written down. And then with the negative on bottom, very often with the negative on bottom of a fraction, they're going to go ahead and move that out to the front. So I'd like to show that as well. So you are allowed to take a negative on bottom and just move it out to the front of everything. So there we go. All right, I think we only have time for one more. So let's go ahead and skip 11 and we'll just do number 12. And I'll start that in 30 seconds. So once again, we're going to skip number 11. If you'd like to start on number 12, you can go for it. All right, so number 12, let me see number 11 actually. What's that looking like? Oh man. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, it's not that good. Let's see number 12, it's fine. Okay, so we'll multiply this one by 3. Getting that common denominator there. Multiply this one by 2. Oh, I'm not doing, I gotta do my color coding here. And we'll multiply this one by x plus 5. Okay, so this one I'm gonna have to distribute the 2 into there. So that's gonna be 2x minus 8. This one, and remember this when we talked about subtraction, I always distribute that as a negative 1, and I turn this into addition. So that's gonna be negative 1x minus 5. All right, so if I add the numerators here, 2x minus 1x is just x. And then negative 8 minus 5 is negative 13. Okay, so there's my part 1 done. So now I'll rewrite it here, 10 over 9 over x minus 13 over 2 times x plus 5.
Mr. Gray,
Yeah.
instead of the 2x plus 5, can we put 2x plus 10?
Yes. Yeah, so if on the bottom there you want to distribute that 2 with no parentheses and put 2x plus 10, that's fine. I'm actually going to end up doing that as my last step. But yeah, you could do that now. It's fine. Okay, so I don't see anything I can cross cancel here. The 2 can't cross cancel with a 9. The 10 can't cross cancel with an x minus 13. So I'm just going to do top times top up top. Now, very important here. That's just going to turn into 20 parentheses x plus 5. And then 9 parentheses x minus 13. So when you already have a number distributed out front like this 2, and then you multiply it by another number, that just multiplies by the number out front. So then if you wanted to distribute it in now, which I do, you just distribute them together as a 20, right? Because that's just 10 times 2. So I'd say this way is fine to write it, but also you can distribute that in there. So it'd be 20x plus 100 over 9x minus 117. So either way, again, whether it's factored out front or it's distributed in, that's fine. Awesome. All right. So if you stuck with us with that, very good job. Let me stop my